Dear all, welcome to my YouTube channel Agribusiness, a journey. Today I will describe about short-run cost principles in microeconomics. Hopefully all of you have gone through my other videos in line of demand principle and production principle. If you don't, please go through it. It helps to understand the cost principles in a better way if you learn the demand principle and production principle in a proper way. When I am describing about the cost principle, it means some of the cost elements just like the total cost, average cost, marginal cost, and among total cost, that is the fixed cost and variable cost, are going to play an important role in decision making process. Fixed cost means the cost incurred by buying the different type of the fixed factors just like the machineries, different type of the infrastructures, land, because these are the infrastructure you need large amount of the investment and cost, but their investment and cost is remain constant in the short run period, whereas in the variable cost you incur some cost, other factors of production that is vary according to the vary in output. These are the factors just like the raw materials, labor, chemicals. These are called the variable cost. As name indicates, it vary according to the vary in output, so it is a variable cost. Question arises, why as a learner we have to learn all these type of the cost? We have to learn total cost, we have to learn average cost, we have to learn marginal cost and other cost principles. Why not only one is essential for taking the decision? For them, total cost helps to derive the break-even point for an organization. When total revenue is equal to total cost, then as an entrepreneur need to understand that how much quantity he or she will going to produce to achieve that point. Average cost, or it is otherwise called as the per unit cost of output production, helps to understand that how much unit of profit an entrepreneur will produce or an entrepreneur will get by producing different type of the product. Marginal cost, you all know that total change in cost for total change in output productions. It helps to understand that whether an organization is going for expansion, whether an organization is going for increasing the capacity of the organization. Particularly when you are thinking about the strategic decision, then marginal cost will play an important role. ATC I have highlighted here, it is the average total cost. It is nothing but the combination of the average fixed cost plus average variable cost. Average variable cost is total variable cost per unit of quantity produced. Total variable cost, you can also write that is the price of input into different type of the variables of input divided by quantity of production. If you at the end you have to summarize, then you can say that it is the price of input into reciprocal of average productivity of input. It means if you like to learn average variable cost, then you have to learn the average productivity curve. In my previous video, I have highlighted in my short-run production function. If you learn all these things, then you just see average total, or you can say that total fixed cost is parallel to x-axis. In the short-run production function, the fixed factors is remain constant. So whatever the cost incurred for them to buying the things, that also be taken into consideration as remain constant, but it has some value. Whether you produce something or nothing, you have to incur some amount of the cost in buying the fixed factors of production for your organization. So total fixed cost is always be parallel to x-axis. When you are not producing anything, then your variable cost or total variable cost is 0. When you going for increasing the output, then your cost also increased, and certain part of the time your production is going for diseconomy of scale. In that conditions, you require less quantity of the production or input. Then ultimately, your cost, total variable cost, is increasing at the increasing rate, and in the end, it has been decreasing at the increasing rate. So it looks like this. So total cost equal to combination of the total fixed cost plus total variable cost, and it will always be started at the point where total fixed cost has been raised. If you learn all these things, then it is easier for you to learn other things in detail. Let's go for the other slides. Here I have described everything in connection to the following graphs. In the previous slide, I have highlighted that total fixed cost is remain constant, and whatever the average fixed cost, as quantity of production has been increased, then average fixed cost decline continuously, and at the maximum quantity of production, it approaches both the axes, it is y-axis and x-axis, asymptotically. If it happens, then you know that the shape of the average fixed cost is just look like a rectangular hyperbola. Numbers of times in different type of the examination, the shape of the average fixed cost always be asked. It is rectangular hyperbola. When the average fixed cost declines, reaches a minimum and rises thereafter, when average variable attains the minimum, marginal cost equals the average variable cost. In the production principle, I have highlighted when the average productivity at its maximum, in that conditions, marginal productivity just touches the average variable cost, average productivity curve. Here, marginal cost touch or cross the average variable cost when the average variable cost is at its minimum. It's just the reciprocation of the productivity principles what I have highlighted in my previous video. In the third point, I have highlighted average fixed cost approaches asymptotically the horizontal axis. Average variable cost approaches average total cost asymptotically. It means when average fixed cost is just touches to both the axes, it means when you are producing large quantity of production, in that condition, average variable cost and average total cost are very close to each other. When average total cost declines, reaches a minimum, then rise up thereafter, when average total cost attains its minimum, marginal cost equals average total cost. You can say that marginal cost cross the average variable cost when it is minimum and cross average total cost when the average total cost is also at its minimum point. Another important thing you have to learn in this direction, when average variable cost is at its minimum, in that condition also average total cost also going down. Why it is going down? Because no doubt the variable cost or average variable cost is going down, but though average fixed cost also be going down simultaneously, average total cost also going down. In that condition, in spite of average variable cost also touches its minimum, still there is a chances that average total cost is also be going down in a continuous manner. In this way, you have to learn three important things. Just I have to mug up all these things. Total fixed cost is always constant, so always be parallel to x-axis. Second is average fixed cost is rectangular hyperbola. Marginal cost always cross the average total cost and average variable cost when is at its minimum, and average variable cost always be reciprocation of the average productivity or average productivity curve in like of the production principles. And one of the literature also highlighted that though things are going in this way, marginal cost curve is almost as the same U-shaped curve like the average variable cost. Thank you all. Thank you watching my video. Thank you motivating me to do different type of the video. Thank you.